Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is May 14, 2023, and we are getting into the volume 90 of me answering your immigration related questions. As you can see, I have all of them pulled up in front of me. Before we begin, as always, I'm going to mention, as I always mention in every video that I make, I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information provided in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and of course the Department of State with their visa bulletin. So let's start with the very first comment. Question from Bill B. Other than quarterly reports, is data available for 129F anywhere? Bill B, thank you very much for the question. Great question. So whenever it comes to the visa statistics, specifically the issuance, the only one that I use and personally aware of, the monthly, especially if you want to look at, is the one that is available from the Department of State, their website specifically for the Bureau of Consular Affairs, and that is travel.state.gov. This is the website. You can find the link specifically for this page in the description of this video. This is specifically for the visa bulletin, but if you open this page, right here you will see the visa statistics. Honestly, I'm not sure if there is a separate statistics for 129F, but if you go to the visa statistics here, you will see that there is actually a monthly immigrant and non-immigrant visa issuance in different classes, different categories, and you can see them for, I actually open it, you can see it for each month. If you scroll all the way down, it's going to be the most recent ones. You can find them by post, FSC, place of birth, and of course the most convenient, at least for me, is the visa class. So take a look. You might find that information that you're looking for in this travel.state.gov website. Again, the link is in the description below for the visa bulletin. So let me post this, and we're gonna move on to the next question from Sok Vibol. Sorry for mispronouncing the name. Hello sir, I'm a beneficiary of family preference F4 and I am Cambodian. Petitioned my siblings in Texas. Currently, I have received a priority date since February 1st, 2020, and I have case number and invoice ID number for family base. So how long should I have been waiting for IV availability, and is likely meeting the current soon? Because now I have not paid IV yet, immigrant visa fee yet, and when should I have to pay immigrant visa fee? Thanks in advance for your helpful answering my question. So thank you very much for asking your question and for watching my videos. So whenever it comes to the force preference, family preference category, siblings of the United States citizens, it's the longest, unfortunately, category that have the longest wait times. And I can personally relate to that one because I myself have a petition that I'm waiting on for my brother, and will be waiting for a very, very long time. Now, from your comment, I see that you already have the invoice ID, and that tells me that your case possibly might have been already approved by USCIS and transferred to the NVC, and most likely you don't have the full access to the NVC portal yet because there's a long time waiting whenever it comes to the force preference category. But since you do have the invoice ID, I'm thinking you might have already been approved by USCIS, which is a huge milestone regardless. At the end of the day, a lot of this is, patience, and as long as you submitted all the correct documents, as long as they are approved, huge milestone accomplished. USCIS, then NVC, documentarily qualified, and then of course the final stage with the actual immigrant visa interview. So we know from your comment, your priority date. Let's take a look at the visa bulletin, and I will be, I'll try to give you some rough estimates specifically for the force preference category, and I'll use this as an opportunity to demonstrate some, if you want to come up with estimates for your immigrant visa class. So we're gonna go to the visa bulletin. This is the most recent one that just recently came out, just like 3 days ago, for June 2023. We're not even in June yet, but they usually release the visa bulletin a little bit earlier, like 2 weeks before the actual, June, because we're not in June yet. But a little bit of a disclaimer, not much, well, nothing actually, not much, but nothing changed on the June 2023 visa bulletin from May 2023, unfortunately. So you will see that there are two tables, there are two graphs that you can use to come up with the approximate wait times for the availability of your immigrant visa. We're going to scroll down to the graph B, because this one shows the dates for filing, and basically that's when your petition is transferred to the NVC, and NVC fully opens up to you, all right, for becoming documentarily qualified. We're going to look at the F4. We know you're in a force preference category, and then because you are, let's see, it's Cambodian, so you are going to be in all chargeability areas. There's only 4 countries that have their separate chargeability areas. That's China, India, Mexico, and Philippines. Everybody else is in all chargeability areas. So right now it's showing that it is February 2008. So people who have their priority dates in February 2008 are just now getting the full access to the NVC portal, where they can basically start their documentarily qualification process. That is, pay the immigrant visa fee, that DS-260, the actual visa application that you'll have to fill out, submitting all the civil documents, submitting the affidavit of support, paying all the fees, providing obviously the sponsor, joint sponsor if necessary. So that is 2008, and right now we are in 2023. That is, sorry, my math is absolutely horrible, 15 years, about 15 years between actually, submitting your case to the USCIS, receiving that notice of receipt, and then getting the full access to the NVC portal. That's basically what the graph B is showing us. So since you have your priority date in 2020, we are roughly looking at about 12 more years, because right now they're, the priority date that is just now getting the full access to the NVC portal is 2008. So roughly 12 years. It's a very long time, but like I said, the force preference, that's just, whenever it comes to inviting brothers and sisters of US citizens, we wait the longest, unfortunately, in that particular category. And then once you are documentarily qualified, then we are moving further to the graph A, which is the final action dates. And if we look at the final action dates, you will see it's April 2007. So there is about a year after you're documentarily qualified. So people who have their priority dates now back in April 2007 are just now getting their, basically the immigrant visa is becoming available for them. So for you, because you have your priority date in 2020, total you're looking at about 13 more years for the full completion for the immigrant visa to become available for the beneficiary that you're trying to sponsor. So hopefully this is helpful. Stay on top of the visa bulletins. I do every month. The new visa bulletin comes out. I make a video specifically on it. I discuss all of the priority dates and how long approximately people wait in different preference categories, in different chargeability areas. It helps to understand it, but at the same time, the deeper you kind of get into it, the more you see how unfair this whole process is and how long these wait times are. So I really wish you some patience. Like I said, I can personally relate because I'm myself waiting for a petition, for I-130 petition in force preference category. Alrighty, let's move on to the next question coming from JB George. Only illegal immigrants have consideration. The people trying to come legally have to wait years. This is frustrating. Biden helped the families that separate for years. JB George, unfortunately, I can't argue with you. That's the case, and we can speculate and come up with different justifications or excuses for why it is so, for why the process is so unfair. Personally, I believe it's because whenever it comes to at least the aspect of the illegal immigration, whenever it comes to the border, border crisis, whatever, you always hear border crisis, this and that, border, south border, whatever, on the news, all right? So it's a very hot topic on the news. And anything that is hot topic on the news is obviously going to be a hot topic amongst the politicians. Of course, they will use the opportunity to, somebody picking up what they said about illegal immigration, about the border. On one side, we have someone who's completely against, now that's it, close the border, this and that. And on another side, we have someone, oh, that's it, open the border and let everybody in. Obviously, both really lack the understanding of what is happening, of where this crisis is coming from, because again, if you look at the process of applying for asylum in the United States, you will see that it really does not fit in with this whole border crisis, because in order to basically meet the criteria that is necessary to get that asylum status, you need to be persecuted. You need to be persecuted in your home country. You have to be, you have to show that you were trying to, apply other avenues to escape the persecution, and United States basically was the only way for you to escape the persecution. United States is the only country that can basically protect you from that persecution. Obviously, apart from actually entering the country legally, all right? Obviously, there are some situations where there's an illegal entry in certain circumstances, and then there is some kind of protection that is given to an individual that is running from the persecution. But again, most of the times, is there really a persecution? Most of the times, it's more of an economic advantage. Whenever it comes to family, however, there is really not much of media exposure, all right? Because really, even if you tell someone who's not familiar with the whole family reunification process, if you tell someone that, did you know that a United States citizen inviting a son or a daughter of United States citizen over 21 years old will be waiting roughly 8 to 9 years for that process to be complete, for their daughter or son to actually get the immigrant visa. It's just the immigrant visa. That's not even the citizenship and stuff like this, because in order to get naturalized, with a permanent resident card, because once you get the immigrant visa, the I-551 stamp, once you enter the country, it becomes the temporary permanent resident card. And then in 5 years, you start your naturalization process. So on top of those 8-9 years, there's another 5 years to become a naturalized citizen. But you also have to keep in mind that the parent that is sponsoring their son or daughter, they also went through all of this. They also paid the fees. They also went through the interviews. They went through all these background checks, biometric appointments, medical examination, interviews. And fees on top of the fees on top of the fees. And then their children have to go through all of this. And of course, if you look at this picture, it's completely unfair. But again, because there is no really any financial benefit that is involved, there is no media exposure that is involved, nobody really wants to touch the subject. So if you look at the conversation with Immigration Attorney Association or whatever, Immigration Lawyer Association, it's like they represent the immigrants, right? They don't. They really don't. When they have the conversations with the Department of State, you see that the family reunification is at the very bottom of the conversation, and it's really one or two questions with a generic answer that somehow satisfies the question, and they just skip it, and it's more of like a boilerplate, like, oh yeah, we addressed it, when you really didn't. So yeah, sorry I went on this rant, but that's what we're looking at. That's what we're dealing with, unfortunately. So it's all comes down to basically stay in control of your case as much as possible, stay on top of the case, research the information, know where to find the information, know who to contact, and that's really the best you can do. Do the best, and hope for, forget the rest. All right, so there's a Vivian Ononiwu. She asked a question underneath George's comment, so let's read it. Hello, I've been documentarily qualified on the 30th of January. IR1 visa from Nigeria. When do you think my interview will be? Okay, so January 23, 2023, I was documentarily qualified. Okay, so Vivian, congratulations on becoming documentarily qualified. That is a huge milestone. Huge milestone. So you are in IR1 visa class. So that is immediate relative. So the immigrant visa for you is already available. You don't have to do any waiting. The only thing right now that you're waiting for is for that immigrant visa interview to actually be scheduled with the embassies. Typically that takes anywhere between, we're looking like 3 months. Sometimes it can take 6 months. I've seen it take as long as about 9 months, possibly a year, if there was some kind of delay, if the embassy is a little bit busy in that particular country. What you can do, if you want, I mean, you don't have to worry about it. You're still within kind of a normal time, right, of time frame of that immigration interview being scheduled. But if you want, what you can do is you can actually reach out to US Embassy in Nigeria, and I'll show you where to find that information. We're gonna go to usembassies.gov, and this is US Embassies. Did I spell it wrong? I probably did spell it wrong. Embassy, or actually no, I don't think it's plural. US Embassy.gov. There you go. So it's not plural, it's usembassy.gov. And I'm gonna mention, since I'm dealing with this at the moment, always make sure you get the information from official government sources. And one way you can tell that it is an official government website is by .gov. You don't want to get the information from .com, .org, because there's a lot of websites out there that, they try to profit off of people, of immigrants who are, desperate to find information. So you don't want to be getting the information from those websites because it might be outdated. It might be some kind of scam that is trying to get money out of you. So you don't want to be dealing with this. But we're going to scroll to, and let's see, Nigeria. Here we go, Nigeria. Let's see if there's multiple. No, there's only one. There's one US Embassy in Abuja. So here we go. This is their number right here. So you can call them up and just say, hey, my name is this and this. I have been documentarily qualified. I'm waiting for my immigrant visa interview. I'm in, immediate relative class, so my immigrant visa should already be available. I just wanted to see if you guys can give me, approximately, your schedule. Don't be upset if they don't give you any information. It's at their discretion. And a lot of times, I would say most of the times, they choose not to give that information and they just say, oh, we can't give you that information. But I know of the cases where they're nice enough on the phone, they go into their scheduling, they see, hey, we have, about 3-4 months the availability of the upcoming interviews, so you will have an idea of how long to wait. Keep in mind, usually they schedule the interviews 30 days in advance. So if they, let's say, schedule the interview today, it will be most likely scheduled in 30 days, the actual interview date. And they do it intentionally so that you have the whole month to complete that medical examination. I would recommend, once you get that interview scheduled, do the medical examination as soon as possible so that there is actually enough time for the doctor, for the civil surgeon to transfer all the information, whatever the conclusion of their medical examination, to the US Embassy. Because I actually seen the case where this person, she waited at the very 3 days before the interview. She went for the medical examination and then she went for an interview. And they told her that they have not received the documents from civil surgeons, so they had to reschedule the interview. But yep, Vivian, congratulations. It's a great milestone. I'm gonna respond to this and respond to that one. There we go. And we're gonna move on to the next question from Ekide TV. Can we submit the Expedited F2A? My documents are approved and are in the NVC. Note, I am green card holder. Okay, so whenever it comes to the expedited request, specifically with the NVC, there's 2 criteria that needs to be met. And so one of them is you have to be documentarily qualified, meaning that you submitted all the documents, all the required documents to the NVC. So that would be all the civil documents, that will be all the financial documents, affidavit of support, right, for the main sponsor, petitioner sponsor, and then the joint sponsor if there is one, and then of course all the fees paid, immigrant visa fee and the affidavit of support fee, and then it is reviewed by the NVC, and if everything is good to go, they make you documentarily qualified. So if you are documentarily qualified, that's number one thing that that needs to be met. And the second one is the availability of the immigrant visa. So the immigrant visa has to be already available. Honestly, I don't agree with this completely. I think it is it's very unfair. Why? Because, well, if you are already documentarily qualified and if your immigrant visa is already available, then after all this time that you spend completing all of that and waiting for the immigrant visa to become available, there's really not much point to submit the expedited request. But unfortunately, that's what they require. So if you do have both of those met, you can definitely try it. I would recommend everyone who is already documentarily qualified and who has their immigrant visa available submit that expedited request. They say that you do need to have a valid reason for the expedited processing, but honestly, all of you guys have a valid reason for expedited processing because we're talking about families and the families are separated. So if you haven't seen your family members for years, that is emergency, that is very much valid reason to request that expedited processing. So if you want to see the process of requesting that expedited processing, I actually do have a separate video specifically on how to submit expedited processing request with USCIS and also with the NVC. It's uploaded on this channel. So let me put this and we're going to move on to the next question from Richard Torco, F4, force priority category, force preference category. My priority date is January 4, 2010. When can I get my visa? Okay, so January 4, 2010. So let's take a look. I'm going to look at the all chargeability area. So let's see, there's graph B. We're going to look at the all chargeability, but again, Richard, keep in mind that if you are in any of if your beneficiary is in any of these countries, China, India, Mexico, Philippines, they do have their separate chargeability areas. And China is the same at the moment, at least is the same priority date, that is all chargeability. But India, Mexico, Philippines, they do wait a little bit more because, well, most likely it's because the immigration numbers are heavier from those four countries. But we're going to look at the all chargeability area. So we have February 2008. That is the priority date that the NVC portal is now becoming open to become documentarily qualified. And you are January 2010. So you are looking roughly at another 2 years for you to get the full access to the NVC portal so that you can become documentarily qualified. And then if there is no delays with becoming documentarily qualified, you are looking at roughly another year for the actual availability of the immigrant visa. Now the delays that I'm talking about whenever it comes to documentarily qualification process, I'm referring to just basic stuff. Let's say you submit a document and maybe they're not happy with something. Like for example, whenever I was submitting, they requested, what did they request? They requested certified translations for something that I thought that I did not need to provide the certified translation. And then also I did have to provide I don't remember what it was, but basically it created a delay of about 6 months roughly, because you have to keep in mind you're submitting all of the documents. It takes roughly about 2 to 3 months for them to review everything. They review it. If everything good, great, you are documentarily qualified. If it is not, then they request additional documents. You send the additional documents, and then again it's another 2-3 months for them to get to it, to review it. So you can see how it can create about 4 to 6 months of delay. So with that being said, I actually have the video on the channel. It's called Documentarily Qualified, What Does That Mean? And I was lucky enough to get a permission from someone, from an actual immigrant who went through this process, who was documentarily qualified and already got the immigrant visa, and I was able to show it in that video. basically exactly everything that is involved in becoming documentarily qualified. So take a look, and it might be helpful because just another 2 years and you're gonna be dealing with that. So as the more you're prepared, obviously the better. Now 2 years, obviously to some people it might sound like a lot of time, but Richard been waiting since January 2010. That is more than 13 years. So after 13 years, 2 years, 3 years is like, man, I'm almost there. So Richard, congratulations. So getting closer. I wish you a little bit more patience, and just prepare everything so that once you have the full access, you submit everything, and it's as streamlined of the process as possible. All right, let's move on to the next question comment from Sir Good. Now I cannot read that. Honestly, Sir Good, it would be cool if you told me what alphabet is that, because that looks really interesting. But this is Sir Good, and Sir Good, thank you for being publicly subscribed to this channel. I appreciate it. Hello, brother. My documentarily qualification date, DQ date, is February 15, 2023. F2B class. Priority date December 2016. So when do you think I will get my interview appointment? When you guess, I wish you a good day. Sir Good, thank you very much. I appreciate your kind words. Let's take a look again at the visa bulletin. June 2023, although we can be looking at May 2023, it doesn't really make any difference. But we're going to look at June 2023, F2B. So let's see. Sir Good is already documentarily qualified, which is fantastic. So let's see, December 2016 priority date. Let's see, F2B. Okay, so Sir Good, September 2015 is the priority date that people with the priority date September 2015 who have been already documentarily qualified are now, their immigrant visas are now becoming available, so their interviews are now being scheduled, okay? So you're already documentarily qualified. Since your priority date is in December 2016, that is roughly about a year. So actually September, December, yeah, less than a year. Less than a year, about 10 months. My math is horrible, I'm sorry about that, but roughly 10 months. So I would say you are looking possibly, if things will start speeding up, which I really hope they will. I had a lot of hope for June 2023 visa bulletin, but they kind of disappointed a lot of people. But possibly by the end of the year, the immigrant visa becoming available. If not, then early next year, 2024, the immigrant visa, your immigrant visa should becoming available, and from then on, your interview should be right around the corner. So yes, you're looking at roughly about 10 more months to wait for it. All right, I have one more question for today. Let's scroll down, see what we got. It's from Abu Ahmed, Family Adventures. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing. And thank you very much for being publicly subscribed. Appreciate it. My parents are green card. Oh, actually, there's more. Let me click on it. 1 second. And let's see. My parents are green card, F41 and F42 holder. Approved their petition 2018. Filled 20 plus years of my father's sister. Wow. My father's already 70. Me and my sister already in our 40s and married. Reasons that we are not eligible for the petition filled before. Yeah. Family is everything, and even my green card holder parents can't do anything to get us with them as the rules of the family petition. Green card holder not eligible to petition married children over 21. Our hearts are crying, hoping these rules will change and prioritize family, seeing our parents still working at their age. That's supposed to be we are the one taking care of them. Praying that U.S. government will review the family petition for U.S. citizen and green card holders, hoping they will see the benefits of young immigrants that can contribute to the growth of economy, because mostly of our approved applicants are already at their retirement age. We miss our parents so much. Wow, yeah, that is. Yeah. When I read stuff like this, yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, and I can definitely relate. I can definitely relate. Abu Ahmed, sorry you're going through this. Man, the only thing I would say is, have your parents considered filing for naturalization? It's a process that you have to deal with again, unfortunately, and all these milestones that we have to go through, but it's part of the deal. It's part of the deal. When you want to do everything right, it's not an easy way. So you have to jump through all of these hoops in order to get that accomplished. So Abu Ahmed, if your parents have never considered actually applying for naturalization, I would recommend looking into that. It's expensive process, but there are some avenues where you can file a fee waiver with the application and avoid actually paying those hefty application fees. So that might be something for them to look into and potentially find the ways to get through it. Because really it's like this with literally anything. If you start, depending on how you start your whole immigration process, it's always going to be in steps. Whether you're starting with asylum, whether you're starting with J1 exchange visitor or F1 student visa, and then changing it to something employment based, and then being sponsored by the employer, or through marriage, or through there's plenty of different ways out there. You just have to be knowledgeable. You have to do the research, and stay on top. Stay on top of your cases at all times. Don't ever let them into somebody's hands, because that's how the problems start. Because nobody will ever have as much of the attachment, as much of the attention to your own case than yourself. So on this note, I'm gonna finish this video. I want to say thank you everyone for your questions, your comments. Really appreciate them. As many of the comments you have, as many of the questions you have, don't hesitate. Just make sure you're not asking your questions underneath my response, because if you do, YouTube does not send me those notifications. But thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.